Dear Lydia, sorry. I know this is sudden. I'm writing you from a northbound train. No doubt, word has already reached you, but it seems I failed the court sorcerer exam. Alan flashed back to his professor's disappointed expression. The man never dreamed Alan would fail, having seen no way the written or practical exam could have given him trouble. Alan made no excuses, but aside from that, he couldn't afford the trip home back to his family. The professor felt disappointment. Yet again, he knew Alan was sending all the money he could to his family, but felt he should also spare some for himself. The professor then spoke of a job opening. His old friend was looking for someone to tutor his daughter, only until spring, but he'd pay handsomely. And right in the middle of Alan accepting, his professor cut him off, talking to his friend on the phone because he'd found the right man for the job. He was really gassing Alan up as the boy he was always talking about, even calling him one of the finest minds he's ever had the pleasure of teaching. Alan questioned if his professor had set him up with, I don't know, a neutral expression on his face. And then the professor spoke about Alan's pupil, Duke Howard's daughter, a scion of the four great ducal houses. Tina Howard hoped to enroll into the Royal Academy come spring. However, she couldn't cast even the simplest spell. Alan thought this would be quite a challenge, but then remembered Lydia was also a duke's daughter too. Somehow, the professor already bought Alan a ticket ready for noon today, where a first-class carriage would pick him up. Now Alan knew for sure he'd been set up. And while the professor sounded thrilled, Alan had no idea what kind of ordeal was waiting for him. Stepping out to the freezing snow, Alan was met by the Howard House head butler, Graham, and the girl poking her head from behind was Ellie, a maid in training. At the vehicle, Graham apologized for the crampiness and suggested Ellie sit on Alan's lap. Quite embarrassing for the two kids, but she told him she didn't mind. They quickly took their seats, and now seeing her ribbon embroidery, Alan surmised she was more important than they were letting on. She began shivering on their trip, so Alan wrapped his scarf around her and decided to warm the car up using a bit of magic. They were amazed at how easy he made it look, but he assured her it wasn't too difficult once he got the hang of it, causing her to look down with a sort of disappointed look. Arriving at the Howard residence, Alan suddenly picked Ellie up and gently placed her on the ground, then apologized to Her Highness for any discomfort. She was so embarrassed, he figured out that she was in fact the Duke's daughter, Tina Howard. But he pointed out that she didn't resemble a maid. She wasn't wearing a headband, and the uniform she was wearing didn't fit her. Also, the snow-white ribbon she wore in her hair was embroidered with golden thread. He's only seen a handful of pieces that resembled it, even in the royal capital. Who else would go as far as disguising herself to get a look at him? She only felt more embarrassed, and suddenly ran off. And with Graham showing Alan inside, Alan noticed the warmth, with the design of the building meant to withstand the wintry climate. Graham then called for the actual maid in training, Ellie, to come take his luggage, and with her scurrying, she tripped over, luckily getting caught safely by Alan. Graham was stern, reminding her he said many times not to run in the house, but Alan was just glad she wasn't hurt. Seeing how adorable she was, he decided to pat her head, making her flush, dizzy, and steamy. Graham emanated a menacing aura, seeing now that Alan for sure lived up to the professor's description, that he had a natural way with young ladies. Alan thought that was misleading. He just had a little experience working with people younger than him. That's all, but Graham didn't buy that whatsoever. Alan eventually graced himself before the head of the house, Duke Walter Howard, and the Duke was assured by the professor Alan was the only man for the job. The Duke sighed, learning Alan had been misinformed. He did intend to hire Alan as a private tutor. However, he wanted Alan to make his daughter give up on the academy. Alan wasn't quite following, so the Duke started with the family history. They were the four great ducal houses. For their great contributions to the founding kingdom, the four houses received vast domains, one in each of the cardinal directions, and each duke guarded those lands to this day. Deep ties to the royal family have earned the ducal house family members the honor of being referred to as Highness rather than Grace. The Howards governed the north on behalf of the crown for generations and took pride in their martial prowess. But that was ending with Walter. His wife passed away when Tina was very young, leaving his two daughters as his only children. His eldest, Stella, was enrolled in the Royal Academy, but he couldn't pretend she was gifted in magic and doubted she'd ever master her inheritance, the supreme spell of their house. While his youngest, Tina, had no magical ability whatsoever. She had mana, but couldn't cast so much as an elementary spell. A number of famed sorcerers have examined her, but none of them could explain. She had a strong sense of responsibility, and as a scion of the house, she considered it her duty to study sorcery and swordplay at the Royal Academy. despite other paths open to her. Duke Howard showed Alan all the plants Tina had been cultivating. After reading her mother's books, Tina started studying ways to make them grow like this. And so, the Duke wished for his daughter to remain here and continue it. Alan could tell this was going to be an even bigger challenge than he initially thought. He understood how the Duke felt, but he personally felt Tina should choose her own path, and asked if she learned to perform magic to the Royal Academy standards and still wished to enroll, would he allow his daughter to do so? And with that, Duke Howard gave his permission and word. The Howard house held a lively celebration banquet for Alan. It was their custom here to take their meals with their servants. Then, with Tina and Ellie making their entrance, the Duke introduced his daughter, while not knowing she had already met Alan. Alan teased he was quite acquainted with Ellie already, asking if she wasn't too cold in the car. So the embarrassed Tina interjected, asking for a moment of Alan's time. Duke Howard then made a personal request for Alan. He wanted Alan to take charge of Ellie as well, since she was Graham's granddaughter and only heir, and their family, the Walkers, had stood by them since time immemorial. Ellie wanted to get into the academy as well. Her goal was to join because she adored Lady Tina more than anything, and wanted to always remain by her side. And this earned plenty of head pats from Alan. A black cat suddenly showed up. His name was Anko, and he was the professor's familiar. The girls gushed over his cuteness. The next morning, meeting with Tina in the room inside the greenhouse, Alan teased her, pointing out she wasn't wearing a maid uniform today. She could tell he definitely had a mean streak. And before they began their lessons, she forbade him from calling her Highness or Lady, and from telling lies. Even if the truth was harsh, she wanted to hear it. He agreed, and could see she seemed awfully sensitive. Her magic impairment must have caused her a lot of pain before now. He explained they wouldn't start with lessons today, but instead, he wanted her to take a written test. The entrance exam had 3 parts: a written test, interview, and practical exam. They would spend most of the time working on magic, but first, he'd like to know how prepared she was for the written portion. He then handed her a portion of sample test questions, and grading during the nighttime, there was no doubt she could rival Lydia, the eldest ducal daughter of House Leinster, whose house guarded the south. While she was known as the Lady of the Sword, she also excelled academically, and graduated from the Royal Academy and University at the head of their class. Her mana was equally as impressive, as she's mastered the supreme spell, Firebird. The next day, he applauded Tina for her abilities, even believing she could have the highest score. So today, no more written material. It was time to start practicing magic. However, she was disheartened because every time she's tried, she's failed. She's had plenty of tutors before him and disappointed every single one. Alan knew exactly what that was like, bringing up how he disappointed his professor recently. Tina couldn't believe this. Lydia was famous, but Alan was as well, known as the brain of the Lady of the Sword. He assured Tina people just talked about him because he was the only person who put up with Lydia's whims. And actually, he had far less mana than average. He assumed they only let him into the university because they thought he'd be good at keeping her in line. He knew how grueling the Royal Academy could be. Classes were taxing and strict, and half the students failed to graduate on time. He wanted to know what her reason was for getting into the academy, hoping it wasn't just a sense of duty. She assured him it wasn't, and explained when she was little, her mother read her picture books. She always admired the great spells that the people in the legends would use. Her dream was to master magic like that someday. Alan was quite surprised, since no one alive could even cast spells like those, but promised if she kept forging a path forward, they'd find a way. Ellie then came in, bringing what Alan requested, and fell over, causing what she brought to fly in the air. And Alan would act quickly, gently setting the candle set down on the table using magic. Ellie didn't mean to embarrass herself, and Tina started shouting at Alan to get away from her maid this instant, because them being too close was indecent. Beginning their lesson, he had Tina explain the fundamentals of magic: fire, water, wind, earth, lightning, light, and darkness. Every person was born with an affinity for one of these 7 elements, and excelled or struggled accordingly. House Howard had an affinity for water and wind, and could combine both to cast ice magic. However, Alan broke down the idea of affinities weren't necessarily true. The other day, when heating the car, he combined fire, water, and wind together. Fire and water were opposites, so his pet theory is there's no such thing as a natural element. He wanted them to try a variety of different elements with an open mind. Their first lesson would be to light these 8 candles using all 7 elements as well as ice. Ellie began first, lighting a candle using a little fire spell, then blew it a little using wind. He praised her talents so far, believing Ellie would be ready for the entrance exam and should aim to pass with honors. Tina began, and Alan could see the mana within her stirring. He could see her spell formula was neat and clean, and yet the spell was unsuccessful. She was disappointed. but he promised they'd figure it out. And doing a little demonstration, he lit all 8 candles at once using the different elements. They were undoubtedly impressed. He knew it wasn't so hard once you get the hang of it. After all, even he could do it, and people used to call him hopeless. Elsewhere, Lydia was reading the letter Alan sent her that explained he'd be at House Howard till spring. He was still healing from the disappointment of failing his exam, and asked her to go easy on him the next time they meet. Maybe stop hurling firebirds at him as a greeting, but she was annoyed he left her without saying a word. What do you guys think about this series? I'd say it's kind of having a boring start, but it's based off of a light novel, so I wanted to give it a shot. Let me know if you want me to keep covering it. Subscribe for more content, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.